Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something sick.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
All right. So, got any parts?
Well, I've none that were coming up with a super bold message just now, but I have just noticed in the last week or so, I had a really good solo moment with IFS where I did a meditation, and I noticed how much easier it was to hear them when I was actually connected to my body. And I felt I heard things and met things and saw sort of the delineation between various parts in ways that I hadn't seen before, and that was interesting. So
I'm very interested in how we get there.
Yeah, and I've been trying to regularly connect to feel my body and get out of the circling thoughts and stuff to get to that vantage point again. It hasn't been as strong as that one time, but I feel there's sort of a way to get to it that I didn't have before. So yeah, I guess I just want to see what's there in terms of immediate feeling, and just remind myself not to analyze it, because that's a part that just even always realize that it's butting in.
Yes, we spoke with it last time.
Exactly. So, right now, say there's a kind of clenching in my chest that kind of also extends back to my shoulders and back. And that seems to be a part that holds emotions and memories, and is very attached to hanging on to those. So, yeah, I'd like to maybe listen to that one.
Great.
So I do feel the tension of it, and I feel that it seems happy to be noticed in some way.
And how do you feel towards it?
Happy to notice it, but also like cautious and like hoping that I'm doing it right, which is that manager.
Okay, good noticing. And how will you address the manager?
I want to hear the manager's concern. It feels a need to watch the process, to be monitoring things. There's kind of like if I don't watch this and if I don't involve myself, then how will I make sure things are on track? And number two, how will I learn how this process works so that I can do it again? Or so that I can possess that knowledge.
Yeah. How do you respond to that?
I think it makes sense to have that concern because it's like, it's such a vital process. Like it's the art and science of like figuring out your entire self and your life. Yeah. So like there's nothing more important, nothing you need more to get right than that.
We touched a little bit on, ways of keeping track that might satisfy this manager. But then last time we talked, the response to that was, well, we've done enough of that. We don't want to hear more.
Yeah.
Thinking about it kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it does have that response. Or at least it doesn't seem to feel as though... I think it does feel confident in its ability to remember, like, what happened, as long as it gets to see and analyze in the first place. Like it's just kind of like a person glued to a screen, and I don't know if it views having a written down account of it after the fact to be quite the same.
How does it feel about the idea of being able to listen to the recording later?
Oddly enough, there's a feeling that that's inefficient, or that
listen at 4x speed.
Yeah, it's hard to really understand or explain why this one is so intent on watching it. It is very fascinated by it also. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about the immediacy, but I can't quite make out exactly why.
Mm-hmm. Is it willing to watch from a distance?
It would like to. It would that seems ideal to it. It just doesn't know how because it keeps getting feedback that it is interrupting.
Yeah. How to increase that distance?
Yeah.
So that it's just right.
Yeah. Maybe it's the analysis that gets it in trouble. It's not the watching, but when it starts to analyze while something is happening, that's when attention gets taken away.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Got those parts too.
Yeah, but it just loves analyzing.
Yeah. I'm just over here brainstorming other ways to kind of defer that. Like, I could take notes on anything that sounds analyze worthy, and then afterwards I could say, okay, here's the things we could analyze.
I think
Just brainstorming.
Yeah, I don't know why, like it it doesn't seem to like any kind of like after the fact solution. There's kind of maybe a feeling like realistically I'm not going to revisit stuff or it's just I guess it's like kind of like a young child too, like it's like kind of the same energy of like when you're a kid and you wake up on Christmas morning and your parents make you wait like a whole hour to open presents and it's like the worst feeling you've ever experienced. It's sort of that. Like, don't make me wait to think about all of this cool stuff. But I think it can be like slowly taught that letting stuff just happen feels better on its own because it does. The one time I got through to all these other parts, it was so excited about it.
Yeah.
I think it just needs to have the experience of me getting to other parts and understand that it loses, like viscerally understand that it loses nothing by stepping back.
Yeah, is it willing to experiment and see how that goes, even if it's just a 5-minute experiment or a 1-minute experiment?
It wants to. It's afraid it won't. It's afraid it's going to like step in without realizing and forget what it's supposed to be doing.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We can remind it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Won't be any punishment.
Sounds good.
And I want to thank it and thank you for just this entire conversation. It helps me in my analyzing parts set that intention too, of like, okay,
that's cool.
I can remind your analyzing parts. Maybe I can remind mine also.
Yeah. They just get really excited.
Yes, they do.
But they wanna help above all, and so I think if they can just learn that the best way to help is to not analyze, I don't know. I have some hope.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Mine are ready.
All right. Sounds good. Mine too. So we'll go back to that emotion part if I can. It's hanging on to a kind of sense of dread or something.
How do you feel towards it?
I do feel connected to it. There's still some of the manager anxiety, but I think it's okay to proceed anyway.
Mm-hmm. And does
but
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask if the part, the sense of dread part, also feels connected if it's aware of you.
Yeah, I think it is. There is a feeling, like a slight feeling of like it being recognized or uplifted in some way. And it feels good to connect with it.
What does it want you to know?
Well, it's giving me a kind of, there is kind of like a physical ache that it's conveying, which is sort of a like a doom, like things are bad, things are scary.
And how do you feel towards it? Seeing what it's carrying there.
I feel glad that I'm getting to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also am like a little less connected to it than I want to be because of like a manager. I don't even think it's the same manager as before. It's just like the one that wants me to have like answers immediately and thinks I'm gonna sound weird if I'm quiet. That one that we've met before is intervening and trying to rush things.
Okay. All right. You've acknowledged that one.
Yeah.
What does it need? What does it need from you?
It needs to know that it's okay to not rush. That there is space and time to think these things through.
Yeah, or to feel them through.
Yes, absolutely.
And is it receiving that from you? Does it have any more?
It's receiving it more than before, for sure. It's kind of like, I know it's okay to take time. I'm just worried about it. is like it kind of knows that it's coming from a place of burdening, but yeah.
Is there anything else we can do for it to help with its concerns?
I can just tell it that, like, if it still keeps being worried, then I'll ask for, like, minutes to, to figure things out.
Great.
Okay. So I'll see if I can go back to the other one now. Yeah, this one is... It's carrying a lot of stress in my body. A lot of... like being pushed past limits.
Does it know, or can it share more about where that comes from?
Not getting a read yet. But I do still feel it in there.
Is there anything else it wants you to know about it?
Well, it seems like it's been there for a long time. It feels like a part that kind of thought that the way its existence was just how it was always going to be, you know, like when you meet self, it's like being acknowledged and sort of, how do I explain? Like connecting to it feels like lifting a weight that I didn't know was there, is what I'm trying to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds nice.
It is.
So there's some hope that it might not be like that forever?
Yeah. It feels like if this can be connected to and like sort of healed and brought back into the light, that you know, kind of like anything is possible for my system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that feeling too.
Yeah. It's really nice. I can tell you that when I connected to it before, I'm pretty sure it's the same one because it's like the same location in my body. But in the past, I think like a few days ago, it seemed to be carrying like sadness and like memory and kind of a like nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a lot of like I call it the part with the tapes because it has the feeling and like the felt sense and like the visual aesthetic sense of like everything that I've been through in the past.
Yeah.
And it was having some grief because it wanted to play some of its tapes that it has that make other parts feel bad and too overwhelmed with sadness. Other parts are trying to like take those memories away from it altogether, and it's like, no,
Right.
I'm clinging to these, I'm keeping these,
Yeah.
which I think it has every right to do.
Great. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you could check that out with it now. See if it
Yeah.
is that part, and if it does want to do some of that tape playing still.
Okay. Oh. Okay. I think it's a different part because I just brought up the tape playing part actually by thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like that one is actually sort of like further back in my body, like even further towards my back and my shoulders. And this other one has a connection to my heart. And it seems like they actually are different parts. So this is interesting.
Yes.
So I guess one is carrying stress and like weariness, and the other is carrying these memories.
Okay. Does the stress and weariness one have a connection with the other? Is it its protector, or does it have anything it wants to say about that other one with the tapes?
Let me see. I actually don't get the sense that they're very real.
Okay.
If anything, I would say that like the one with the tapes triggers other ones that kind of freak out and then stress out the stressed one.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, like this one is like this one that's kind of in my chest is like I feel bad. I don't want to feel bad anymore. Like I just feel a sense of dread and like life closing in on me and stuff. And the other one with the memories is like, I love my memories. They're beautiful. I want to pull them out. And it does often pull out other memories that it's allowed to share and sort of revel in those. But it meets conflict when it tries to bring up ones that aren't approved.
So some of the stress and dread comes from the reaction of other parts to the memories. The memories, these other parts feel like the memories are going to bring you down or disrupt the system. And this part is just feeling really stressed out about that.
Yeah, it's feeling stressed about that and any number of other things. It's just kind of the part that carries this weight of like something is wrong. It's kind of just holding on to a sort of badness to like remind me that I'm not safe.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. It contributes to this constant felt sense that something is wrong or I'm doing something wrong or And that's been the case since I was a child.
How old does it think you are now?
It kind of doesn't know, I think. Like it doesn't. I'm definitely not getting like, oh, you're a 30-year-old adult from it.
Okay, good. Update it with your age.
Okay.
Do you want to ask it about some of that badness that it needs to remind you about, or the not safety?
Yeah. It's just a very like you're in trouble. Something isn't right. Something needs to be fixed. But there's not a sense of what that thing really is.
Is the part frustrated by that? Does it feel like that's kind of futile, that it doesn't know or isn't able to communicate what is out of place?
Yeah, there's a sense of nothing seems to solve it, and it's kind of given up on there being an actual thing, or maybe the thing it needed was in the past and it can't, and there's no way to fix it anymore. Or the thing is just impossible because, like, I don't know, other parts won't let it happen. Like maybe if I did everything right forever and got every bit of work done on time or ahead of time, and I wasn't worried about disappointing anyone or not meeting any obligations, then it would be able to relax. But as long as that's not the case, it can't.
Okay. Great hypotheses. So maybe there's no thing. Maybe the thing is in the past and it's not fixable.
Yeah.
Maybe there's things and it's just impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like thing bad.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that actually is making it feel better is the connection that it has right now with me. And it doesn't feel completely better, but it feels like, oh, somebody's helping me out now.
Yeah. Yeah. What's it afraid would happen? It mentioned safety, but what is it afraid would happen if it didn't do that reminding that something is wrong? If it just let go of that, what would happen?
Then I would forget something important. I would be confused. That question shows me that it's related to Undeserver, which doesn't surprise me because I actually made a lot of headway with Undeserver a week or so back as well, where I kind of got to him and was asking him questions about why he felt so bad and some of the reasons that he feels bad or condemns me or whatever were like reasonable sort of, or could at least sound reasonable. But then I came to some ones that just really weren't reasonable. Like, for instance, like feeling bad that I didn't like some fictional idea of something. I can't remember what it was, but I found this one thing that was just concretely sort of irrational. And I was like, why do you feel bad about that? Like, why is that bad? And then he just kind of came to this big thing of like, I just have a bad feeling. And that was it. I just have a feeling of bad and impending doom and whatever. So I think this is more of that. This is yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of behind the curtain, or the underlying emotion of these parts is there's impending doom.
Yeah.
Undeserver does what Undeserver does. This part reminds you and carries the stress.
And I would like to know what is the original bad?
Yeah.
Like what started it all? Because I think that's what I'll explain it.
Do you want to just ask this part?
Yeah. Like what's bad? I'm not getting a clear answer, but I am getting like more of the same of like it's just bad and I don't know. So I'm not really disappointed to not be getting an answer because I just feel like
wow.
Yeah.
Bravo to the answer part for giving you space and allowing that.
Yeah, because it's just nice to feel connected to it, and I think it doesn't know itself well enough because it's been alone for so long that it doesn't even know what went wrong anymore. Because like, and I'm kind of proposing little ideas to it. Like, is it I'm bad? And it's not really that. Like, that might be part of it, but that's not immediately resonating.
And does the way that you're being with it still feel to it like it's lifting a weight?
Yeah, it does. Good. There are like moments when the manager pops in a little, but it's not really enough to sever the connection. And the manager wants the connection to be maintained. So there's like an actual point of like physical pain that I feel when I'm connected to it, but it's like a good feeling to connect to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if it's going to come up with an answer anytime soon.
You're all right with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think it knows. I think it will. But it also doesn't.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. It doesn't feel hopeless. It doesn't feel hopeless to be in your presence and not know.
Yeah. I think it will know at some point. It just doesn't yet.
Is there anything else that it needs from you or wants from you to help with that, or just to
it certainly
cement your relationship with it?
It certainly needs to be connected with if it is ever to come up with any particular history or like if I'm going to unearth the sort of original belief or wound, then like it needs connection in order to facilitate that. So definitely want to do that. And it needs for the manager to not get tired and bored and give up.
Yeah.
Because it moves at a slower pace.
Yeah. The manager's been really patient today.
Yeah, it has.
And so what does this part need in order to trust you to be able to create this space again in the future?
It just needs sustained attention, and for the manager not to be like rushing and pushing things. It needs me to not move on to some like other new shiny explainable thing. Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to help with that if I can bookmark this part and bring it up next time or whatever might help with that.
Sounds good. And I'm gonna try to connect with it in the meantime as well.
I'm feeling really calm, but I also have parts that are jumping up and down for joy, seeing how you've just connected and got to this place with this part.
It's good. Yeah, I'm happy about it too. I'm glad that like things are like it's getting easier to connect to like actually connect with parts over time, because the manager can get very anxious if I have good connection one time and then it's not as good the next time. And then that's sort of like a self-perpetuating cycle of manager panic. So it's good to like be able to show the manager that things can actually improve incrementally.
Yep. And again, mine too. You know, everything that you're saying is like resonating in my own experience and my own managers that are trying to control this process or looking out for, is it better today or worse today, and all that.
Yeah. And then it almost results in this sort of like greedy reaction, when you do get a moment where you connect to a part, then the manager gets like so excited and so adamant because it thinks this is the only time you can do it. At least in my experience, that's so it just ends up like being a whole cycle. So it's good to reinforce the fact that it doesn't have to be like that.
Does that manager feel like respected? And I mean, is there anything more that the manager or the have answers parts need because they were so patient?
The manager needs, like, it does need to be, and I was actually working through this somewhat the other day too. I've had a lot of things happen, like, you know, since I took MDMA, like it's been just it's not even that it's like so much easier than before, but it's more like I can sort of get farther because like something opened up and I was able to like see things. And so now I kind of sort of know how to get back to them. Like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but
it sounds to me like there's kind of a hopefulness or a parts are a little more trusting and hopeful and like there's some momentum that they're seeing.
There's a clarity. Yeah, and a momentum, yes. Wait, but so I had this thing with the manager where I realized that it can be kind of like cranky and defensive because it does kind of get shit on sometimes. And I realized that there was another manager that was shitting on it. And it's this manager that's kind of like this other manager that has read the IFS book and is like, managers are bad, actually, and they shouldn't interfere, so you should stop interfering. And then that manager got like maligned for always interfering, and it had this sort of like like sort of like a breakdown about like I get that I'm not doing this right, but I have to be able to do my job. It's my job to figure things out. I love to figure things out, and I can't just not be figuring things out. And I was just like, yeah, that makes sense. You're right.
Yeah.
So it's been a little calmer since then.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Read the book, but missed the title. No bad parts.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like because this other manager, like, I don't know, like they all sort of think they're self, at least the thinky ones sort of think they're self at first, or think they have to do self's job. And so there was definitely one that was like, every time I would try to figure something out, it would point out the figuring out and be like, you're figuring out. That's not how it's supposed to go. It's supposed to be a connection to self. And it's like, that's true, but but like there's a level even with that of like not being nice to parts and not seeing them for what they are. And so it's a whole self-perpetuating cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Parts are good parts detectors, but they're not good self.
Right. Yeah. They just don't have it.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other parts to check in with? The tape player.
The tape player. I really enjoyed connecting to the tape player the other day, because that's a part that brings me a lot of joy. Because when a memory isn't painful, but it's just something nice that happened to me in the past, or even if it's not something nice, as long as I am truly over it and have like moved through it, I can look back and like absolutely relish those like bittersweet memories. Like I have an ex who at the time I felt like he was treating me horribly, and there was like so much strife between us. But because I'm not worried or troubled by that relationship anymore, I look back at what happened with us and I'm like, oh, those were some fun days. We had some fun, and it was like a whole vibe, and there were like songs that we enjoyed or that like remind me of him, and it's like a really good experience, which is really weird. Other parts kind of look at that tape player who's playing those tapes and they're like, that's your idea of fun, like remembering that guy? And it's like, yeah. And they're like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're used to focusing on the dread and the doom, and when self can look back at a memory and bring all that joy to it.
Yeah. And it's like, it's great when it's something I have moved past. But then there's like the memories of my ex who died, which this part really wants to remember. But every time it brings them up, there's this reaction of like, oh, we can't do that. Like there's kind of a reaction of we don't deserve to enjoy those memories.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And there's also sort of a belief that that quote unquote getting over it or like no longer grieving about it would mean that the memories would be erased, which I don't know where that comes from, but that's something I definitely encountered.
Right. So, and that was interesting, when you're talking about the memories, you're talking about moving past them. And now here, this part is saying, well, if, we can't just make it go away.
Yeah.
And so, I'm wondering if, rather than moving past a memory, the aim is more like tending to the parts that are stuck or, still feel alone in that memory or.
Yeah, like moving past those memories will never happen because this memory part will not let it happen because it loves the memories and it would feel horrified at discarding them. Which I like. I think that's a good thing. But it's kind of forever like frustrated by its inability to enjoy them.
There's hope.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Anything else? Any other concerns or questions or commitments or?
Not really. I've been trying to like take time to connect with my body every day with these parts and find them that way. But it's not really a commitment because as soon as I commit to something, then it's like an obligation. But I've just been like drawn towards doing that every day, which has been nice. So I'm
it's a
hoping
by a different name, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping and thinking / believing that it will continue that way.
Yeah. I wonder if I'm just reminded of like how I'm committed to exercise every day, but it's not really it's not like a cognitive commitment.
Yeah.
It's like I'm at a point where my body wants to, and we're not gonna, and nobody's gonna get in its way, kind of thing. Like you, like kind of like I'm called to it,
Exactly.
It took time to get there. Maybe it took those cognitive systems and managers and whatever else to get there. Same with my parts work.
Absolutely. There's some kind of dynamic, I think, where if you like lay this certain groundwork for like making sure that what you're doing is ultimately a positive experience for parts, then they remember that and it becomes like a positive feedback loop. Yeah. For the longest time, my manager would get so frustrated by trying to do IFS that it would just interrupt the whole thing. So the more it sees me have positive experiences with parts, the more it's inclined to want to do it more. And I think it's the same thing with exercise, although I want to get on that train with exercise. That's my next challenge.
Yeah. Another conversation for another day.
Well, thank you for all your help.
Thank you so much. Really awesome watching you work, and thanks for sharing all of it with me.
Thank you. You have a good evening.
Okay. See you next time.
See you next time.
Okay. Bye.
how do I sum up? I don't know. I just feel like I've been having a better time with my system. And I've learned to sort of pay more attention to the feelings rather than getting caught up in the thinking, and that has helped a lot.
Great.
Yeah. And I guess like I think like progress is sort of inevitable at like the place that I'm in after a while, but I still feel like there are definitely like things that are in there that are not all me, you know, that are burdens. And it's sort of much the same stuff that's been this whole time, like kind of the sadness and like struggling to make sense of like my ex's death and the physical symptoms that are caused by parts, by anxiety, like clenching my teeth and like my stomach being weird and like and all the like not being able to focus on work. It's like I feel like it's all sort of like improving little by little, but definitely still plenty to dig into. So,
well, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to have a minute of meditation?
Sounds good.
Okay, I'll set a timer. All right. So, yeah, looking for parts that are up that you'd like to get to know, that you'd like to improve your relationship with.
Yes. So I feel like oh yeah, you know what I would like to do is talk to the part that blocks off the emotions. So I've got like I feel like it used to be like I couldn't like none of my parts felt consistent. Like from time to time I couldn't tell who was the same one, and I feel like that's gradually gotten better. And so I have kind of like a map of them at this point. And so there's like the thinking one, aka the agenda part, which it turns out that one doesn't always have as much of an agenda as I would think. It's kind of being pushed to do more thinking work than it really wants, because that's how I just get bounced back over like whenever I'm having a strong emotion. It's like, don't feel this, think about it. And then the agenda part gets like sort of called in to do something about it, even if it doesn't know what to do. So, so there's that. And so like that whole mechanism is like, in order for the feelings to go away so that I can think about something, there's a part that blocks the feelings off. And that's sort of around my heart or like my diaphragm area. And it kind of prevents me from getting access into like the rest of my body, like my stomach, my gut, basically. So yeah, I would like to work on getting to know the blocking part.
Yeah. It's the one that says, don't feel these feelings, think about it. Yeah. And then it recruits the thinking agenda one.
Yeah. It just bounces things back away from feeling, because it thinks the feelings are not only too much, but not useful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you feel it in your heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
In and around it, like it kind of changes shape sometimes, but yeah.
Okay. How do you feel towards it?
You're definitely curious, like excited to see what happens with it. I'm a little bit worried that I won't be in self the way it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But like I want to get to know it and I'm excited to meet it.
Okay. Okay. Maybe you could address the worried part and just ask it to notice you. Let it know that it being present and not stepping back is a part of that difficulty in accessing self.
Yeah. I can see that it cares a lot. And
yeah, just show it that and see if it can receive it and see that it comes from you.
Yeah, it's definitely receiving something from me. It's responding to something.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's...
Does it have any other concerns? Does it have any other parts that it's particularly worried about that it is saying, look out for this one? Or...
It's worried about the whole thinking mechanism being triggered and going back to like trying to solve IFS instead of just being in self, which is a very reasonable concern because that's what I usually tend to do.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just let it know that's reasonable.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye out for that.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to the part?
It does sound good to the part. The part is like a little skeptical that it will happen, but we may as well try. Can't hurt to try.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, if it notices that thinking part coming back in, it could jump in and let us know.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. All right. So you still have that curious feeling towards the don't feel part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have an excited feeling about like getting to it. So I don't know if that's self exactly, but
I don't know either.
But it is a positive feeling. Like there aren't a lot of negative feelings toward it. So that's something.
Does it feel at all courageous and confident?
Yeah, not as much because we, as a system, have not made much headway with it so far. So there's a little bit of doubt that we can this time.
Okay. Yeah, it could be a part.
Yeah.
Just let it know. Let all the parts know. Any parts that are overly excited. Just let them know the same thing that we let the last part know. That we can get to know parts best when self leads.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one that's like almost bored by that idea. It's like, self, what about me? I want to figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. I wonder if that's the thinking agenda part.
It very well could be.
And is it, I remember once hearing from a part of yours that is saying like self's boring. Self is just this kind of blank, kind of do nothing part that just feels good towards parts.
Yeah.
That's how it was picturing it.
And I've seen that that's not true, but I don't know. I guess this part still feels that way.
Okay. Just acknowledge that.
It's like, I guess it wants to analyze. It kind of wants the glory of figuring it out. Sometimes it really does get exhausted and doesn't want to, and thinks its thinking is useless. But this time it's just kind of like excited.
Okay. Is there anything it needs from you to give you space? Its excitement is welcome. I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
That sounds like a positive thing. And
yeah, it is. I'm thinking like what does it really want? Because I know it doesn't want to hinder the process, even though it sort of is. But it wants to chew on whatever happens and think about it because it likes to do that. Because that is like that is its intended job, is to think. It's just its only burden is that it thinks too much, but it does like to think. So I can maybe say we'll think about it later.
Yeah. How's it respond to that? Doesn't like that after the fact.
It's not really, yeah, it's not like agreeing to it. It's kind of,
What if I just had an idea about taking turns? What if it let itself go for 5 minutes and then we have a 2-minute think about it break?
Yeah, it seems it's willing to step back for a bit. Yeah.
Another compromise could be when it does have some thinking and analyzing to do, it could it could come to you, it could come to self and say I have some thinking to do. Here's what it is. And then you could speak for that part and say, okay, my thinking part really, really wants to jump in and say X. And so I just saying that and see how it feels about that.
That could work. I think that could work. It's not used to the distinction between talking to self versus talking to another part, but it's starting to get it. So I think that could be worth a try.
Okay. I'm talking to my own thinking part about that process also.
Yeah. Okay. I think there's a little more space cleared than there was.
Okay. Thanks, parts. So the one that blocks off emotions.
Yes.
Can you get it to notice you? Let it know that you're curious about it?
Let's see.
Show it the space you made by negotiating with other parts.
Yeah. It does respond better to the space. It's quiet, but it is a different feeling than when the agenda part is going for it.
And what does it want you to know about itself?
Well, I'm not getting like a clear answer to that question yet, but it's like kind of changed form a little bit from being like a blockage to being like a soft cloud or something, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a total change, but it's definitely like changing a bit.
Yeah. It can show up however it wants. It doesn't have to answer our questions.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep noticing what you notice and keep it open with that kind of, what do you want me to know? Or maybe asking it to show you more of it.
Mm. I still have some that are getting in the way a bit, so I'm like kind of sitting with them too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I know why agenda part is so full of agendas. Because if it doesn't show up and manage the IFS, then it doesn't mean that we'll actually get to the target part, because like some other random part will come up and say some random thing and take the stage. So it thinks it's clearing the others away, even though it's really not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You could let it know that I always take notes during the calls. And so I'm happy to take some responsibility in locking on to any target. But
it does
also
appreciate that.
You know, we tell parts that if they want to jump in, they can. So
yeah,
that's also can be really useful information sometimes.
This is true. Well, everyone is, there's like there's the agenda part, there's the wall part, or the blockage, and then there's like just kind of an anxious part that's like, what if I have a concern? And I'm just kind of like chilling with all of them. It's a little tough because the agenda part wants the other one to go away.
Okay.
But
and yeah,
they are like settling down a bit now that I can see all that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can show agenda part how good you are at meeting parts when it lets you, that you are able to give them what they want.
Yeah, its feeling is kind of like, well, you'll meet any part anywhere, and we need to go somewhere specific, and that's why it thinks self is boring.
Okay. And is it okay with the specific part that we're targeting today?
Is agenda part okay with?
Is it on board with that?
Yes, that's what it wants to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm putting some more squares around that target on my notepad here, so I won't lose it.
Yes, that one is one that we've wanted to discuss for a while. So.
And I'm very curious what that anxious part was saying about what if I have a concern. If it doesn't feel important to share it with me, that's fine. But I was wondering how you responded to that or what its concerns might be.
It's kind of like this idea of like what if I have something to say, and like I like it doesn't necessarily like need anything to say or have anything to say that I like want to share, but like it's kind of like, and I see this one a lot. Like I feel like this one comes up a lot, like whenever I'm doing like work with anyone else, where it's like it just kind of, it's like when you start thinking about like the seams on your socks and then suddenly your shoe feels incredibly uncomfortable, but only because you thought about it.
Yes. Yep. I know that.
Yeah. That one is very prominent in my entire life. And
okay. Yeah. Does it have something to say right now? Maybe we could practice that. Like practice saying whatever it has to say right now and kind of going to self with that and allowing you to speak for it or to just see how you address that.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'll just have it talk to self. Well, I think it can be okay with pushing this thought until later. So yeah, like it's a bit calmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a part that wants to share more about my note-taking system right now because I have a way that so when I sit to do IFS with a collar. I have a clipboard with a full-size piece of paper, and that's where I'm taking all my notes about their parts. And then right to the side of that, I have a Post-it notepad. And that's where I take all the other thoughts that aren't really related to the session.
Oh.
So whether that might be a note about something with the recording, or I just have an idea about something. I need to buy a new massage gun. That goes over here on this pad. And so it can be like,
nice.
Yeah, it's my over there place. So when they come up, I'm able to speak for them in that way.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I should like, maybe if I pulled up a thing like that during every session, it would be easier to stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start a little note. Yeah, I've heard that called a parking lot before.
Yeah.
Which is I think it's a good term to describe that. Well, the blocking part itself is still softer than before. It's, in fact, come to think of it, I think it's been kind of softer all day, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was just in like an uncharacteristically good mood earlier, and I think it might be that part having softened a little bit.
Okay, maybe you could check that out with it. You could see like, is that a chicken or egg situation? Or like, what hand it plays or what role it has in feeling good.
It's felt sort of relaxed today.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like that has to do with the fact that I've been more connected with other people lately.
Okay.
And more, I don't know.
Does it have a concern that when you're not connected with others, when you're maybe feeling more alone, the feeling those feelings is like more likely to, just take you to a bad place or to kind of over focus on them or something?
That
become ruminating on them.
Yeah, because it's protecting from the bad stuff down below. So if there's less bad stuff down below, it has less to protect.
Okay.
And being connected with others is like, if I'm happy with my relationships, then I'm not as upset. So there's not as much.
That nourishes those parts that are the bad stuff below.
That would ordinarily be exiled. Well, I mean, some of them still are, but yeah.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check all that out with it. And you could decide or ask it if either of you want to kind of stay with it and learn more about it, or if it wants to show you more about that bad stuff, about those other parts that feel exiled.
Yeah,
I want to
go
to them.
I want to know like what its chief concern is right now, like what it needs.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be afraid of something.
Yes. Yeah, just ask it to show you more of that.
There are just things that are bad in my life that have not been made sense of yet. And so releasing them out would serve no purpose other than to create constant stress and overthinking.
Okay. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it says that there are the bad things in your life that you haven't made sense of.
Yeah.
Does it feel like those are bad things out in the world that need to be figured out, or do they feel more like parts that
like parts, like things I'm upset about in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also like the world that's not there.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's like anything where it's kind of been proven unproductive to take it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like I could think about certain things forever. I could stress about them forever, but doing that doesn't really help.
Right. Yeah. So I wonder if there's a distinction between things you're upset about and parts who are upset. And if it would be possible, or if we could just kind of show it that difference between meeting upset parts versus thinking about upsetting things.
I think the distinction is between thinking and feeling. Again, it's it's stopping me from thinking about stuff because it knows it won't be figured out.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't quite, or it hasn't in the past, I guess, realized that the feelings are productive to let out into the space, like into the system. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. You said that it stops you from thinking about things, but earlier you were saying this is the part that stops me from feeling things, and it recruits the thinker. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and maybe that's what happens. Maybe the thinking part jumps in and says like, okay, you guys don't know what you're doing, and gets to thinking.
Yeah, like honestly, I did notice as I said it that it was contradictory, and at the same time it does feel like it's both are true. It's like it doesn't want me to think about I guess it's controlling the flow. It's like it doesn't want me to think about certain things because it's like the agenda part has its job and there's no sense overwhelming the agenda part. It's basically like creating a space for the agenda part to puzzle things out one thing at a time.
I think I get it.
So it's like only some thoughts and definitely feelings are not that important.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Especially if the agenda part and the thinking part is working so hard and it's such a kind of managerial part that feels blended often, then I can see this part in somewhat of a partnership with it. Like you said, serving up one at a time or trying to reduce the flow of what agenda part's working on.
Yeah, it's kind of this idea of like getting your emotions in order so that you can think logically, like this prioritization of cold logic over everything else, which I grew up revering and have only more in recent years come to find that model is sort of wrong. So
yeah, it's got some faults with it.
Yeah. So now it's like the agenda part kind of wants the feelings, but it tries to get them and its access is blocked and it gets increasingly frustrated about that.
Yeah. One thing you could try is showing this blocking part, showing it how you have negotiated with other parts just to get to where you are now with it. So you negotiated with the thinking agenda part about this conversation and this journey here.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like that went well and it's been respecting you. So yeah, maybe you could kind of just show it how you're able to work outside of that matrix.
Yeah, it sort of knows that just by what my presence is like. So it's really not too afraid of self. It kind of is.
Right.
It is amenable to self. I think the reason, if anything, the reason this might be like going slower than it would be if self is it, like basically I am still kind of like having to tap the other ones on the shoulder like pretty often and be like, can you guys scoot back out of the way? But when it's actually self talking to this part, there's really no barrier to communication. It's just hard to keep tapping them and get them out of the way.
Yep. Takes that energy.
Yeah.
Not an automatic process necessarily.
Yeah.
But like you said, there has been progress in you doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it knows self will listen to it, but it knows the agenda part won't. It knows it just kind of wants to do what it wants to do.
Yeah. And it might need to keep, if agenda part's running the show, whenever it is, then this part might need to keep doing its job. So
yeah.
I hope it doesn't feel like we're trying to talk it out of doing its job.
No, I think it just knows the agenda part is trying to talk it out of it, but it doesn't get that from really anybody else.
Okay. Do you want to stay with it and learn more about it, or do you want to ask it for more of a glimpse about some of the things it's concerned about, some of those deep down bad parts, as it was calling them, and just see if you can bring some light there and see how that affects this part.
Yeah. I have like a question for it that I almost can't. It's like I have a question, but I don't know what the question is.
Well, if you can feel the question and the problem is just putting it in words for me, please.
Well, no,
that's not important.
It's more than just that. It's like the meaning of it is forming. It's just my access to self is sort of still split with the others that are like, especially agenda part that is, it's just very used to intervening. It almost doesn't know how not to. So let's see. I think it might be good to have like the 5-minute timer or whatever.
Great. Okay. How many minutes would you like now?
I think 5 will be good.
Okay. You can jump back in and interrupt early if you feel it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Started.
All right.
That's 5 minutes.
Okay, I did learn some things.
Me too.
Did you?
Yeah.
You were doing some parts work of your own during that time.
I was doing some somatic parts work.
Very good. So I spent like the first half of that with the others who were like just doing their thing of like, like, oh, there's a, like, come on, we have to step back. There's a person here, and being silent forever will be awkward. That whole shtick that always happens. So when I got those to move again, then the blocking part was angry at them. And I got like some feeling from it, like why would I let out these deep feelings for these freaking clowns to to deal with? Like, they can't even handle themselves.
Right.
So it truly is protecting the feelings in a way.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking that part of the thing that these clowns do is they really want you to not be silent. They want you to talk.
Yeah.
Right? And so maybe it's like, well, we're going to go to these deep places and these scary memories or whatever. And you have these parts that just want to, you know, talk. And maybe this part's saying like, maybe that's not what's best for your connection with those parts, you know?
Yeah. What they want is to have like insights right away. And if it takes more time to get them, then they get antsy, and then it's like they crush the whole process because it makes it take even longer, and then they get even more distressed. It's like a cycle.
Yeah. Hey, show them your real age. And I find that helps a lot with these parts that are in a hurry. It's just step back, look at the lifetime calendar.
It's true. That is helping a little bit. That doesn't usually help. So that's interesting. They are kind of like, you're like, how do I put it? Like, oh, you're an adult. Like your thoughts and feelings aren't completely worthless and subservient to whoever else is around. Like, it's crazy the way kids are treated, you know?
It is really crazy.
Because that should never be the case. But
you're right.
We're all brought up to believe that like nothing we
we're definitely
like that we're not allowed to set our own agendas ever.
Right.
As children. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of teaching them that they don't have to constantly talk and create and perform for people.
So with this blocking part, does it have any requests of you? Or I'll keep asking, does it want to show you more about some of those other down below parts?
I feel like it's progress that I can even consistently make contact with it now. Because before I could feel that it was there, but not get it to respond.
Yeah.
So it felt almost inanimate, even though clearly wasn't. But it kind of just needs self to talk to it. Mm-hmm. For it to be self, not anybody else.
Yeah.
And
does it have any more specifics around that?
It wants to relax. And until it relaxes, it can't Like, I'm not getting much from it about, like, what the specifics are. But I don't think that's because it doesn't want to say. I think that it's just, like, busy talking about other things. Like, fending off the clowns.
Mm-hmm.
And just sort of meeting me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really like taking stock. It's not even thinking about what it's got buried right now.
Right. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's just focused on the parts at hand and how you can, what the process of you getting connected with this part looks like.
Yeah, but it can take a look. I just can't right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not opposed to the idea.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Does it have any requests that are like personal to it, like a different space it wants to meet you in, or a gift it would like, or anything on its Christmas list?
Well, it wants to relax.
Mm-hmm.
And feel at ease. It wants to like chill in front of my projector screen. Like I have like this really cheap little projector I bought, and I have like a projector screen that I made.
Mm-hmm.
And it wants to watch pretty lo-fi animated illustration videos on there, like with
cool.
like a pretty house with the rain falling on it, and chill music, and
nice.
The lights all colorful, and
nice.
Candles.
All right.
And so yeah, it just needs like the body to be physiologically relaxed. And not preoccupied with a million things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it wants you to find more time to just chill.
Yeah, but then there's kind of a note of caution too, like that once that chilling happens, then the distressing stuff that's buried actually comes up, then it of its own right will be distressing and will sort of tend to lead back to that stress mentality that leads to the blocking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I get that. And also it could be exactly what's called for that incremental progress, which is this is the part right now that has that stress, or that I need to spend more time with, and it doesn't have to be, for the purpose of getting past it, for the purpose of finding what's beneath it.
Yeah, it could be worthwhile to be stressed for the right reason instead of the wrong reason. Like, instead of being stressed out by work or being stressed out by like the alternative random tasks or social media scrolling that I do to block out the negative feelings, at least I would be stressed out by the negative feelings themselves.
Yeah. Sounds courageous.
Yeah.
And practical.
Yeah.
Pragmatic.
Yeah. It just has to be a balance, because if there's too many of those negative feelings, then I will just go back to distracting myself with social media or whatever and be back where I started. So bit by bit. Because there's one that's like on standby that it'll literally, like, I don't know, it's got some kind of magical amnesia power, because I will be picking up my phone and realize that I've picked up my phone once it's already in my hand. I mean, I'm sure everyone has that part a little bit, but it is really interesting to realize how intense it can be sometimes.
Yeah. And is there any brainstorming or negotiating you want to do around just how to get more of what you two want to happen? Is there any?
Yeah, I think we need to stop viewing the blocking as like a bad thing, because the blocking can enable us to be at a level of stress that's tolerable instead of one that's not tolerable and results in distraction. So I think the agenda part needs to stop demonizing the blocking.
Yeah. And patient agenda part, does it have anything it wants to add to this conversation?
Well, it's definitely a cognitive part that had a hand in coming up with that idea. I don't know if it's... Sometimes I have trouble figuring out if agenda part is like one part or two, because I feel like there's like a thinking and then there's like a pushing, and I don't know if it's the same part. But if it is the same part, then agenda part kind of thought of that idea for itself to shut up.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else you want to ask of any of these parts? Concerns that they have, negotiations you want to, or intentions you want to set? Any requests of me?
Well, working on the not having to keep chattering, that's important. I think I want to remind myself about that on a regular basis, because it's a very frequent occurrence in my life. Although, like, it's not as, like, it's only really as troublesome when I'm doing, like, it's a session about me and figuring me out, and it becomes like troublesome to the point of blocking all progress here. But usually in most other situations, it doesn't completely block progress, because I'll be like just talking to someone having a random conversation that could be about anything, or like a work thing. So it's like very hard to get used to this idea that that my urge to sort of constantly perform has to be dealt with, instead of just being like, it's fine, I'll deal with it later. Like it really does have to be dealt with.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see how keeping the conversation alive with a friend is connecting. And earlier you were saying how being connected with people is one way for those exiles to not feel so alone or so whatever they're feeling.
That's true, although it's funny. The part that is over talking to maintain connection prevents other parts from feeling truly connected, because it's just chattering, like, and it's doing something inauthentic, and then I'm never forced to learn that I am allowed to be authentic around people.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting.
They're all welcome here, and lots of silence is also welcome here. I definitely, I can definitely see the different way that you and I work together when we're both talking a lot versus we're both not. And I wouldn't say one's bad and the other's good, but it's definitely a different mode.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, it's interesting how efforts to maintain connection can actually do the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just like going forward, I'll also keep in mind that I can ask for like X number of minutes anytime I want.
Yeah, all you want. I really enjoy it.
Cool.
It's relaxing for me, and I'm not like, I have my kind of scheduled check-in with myself times, but there isn't any other time of day when I'm just sitting for over an hour and looking out for my own parts. So really this is kind of my daily most self-led time, or at least aiming for it.
Oh yeah, that's right, because you do like an hour of preparation for each.
Well, there's that too, but even just in the conversations, it's like, if I'm wanting to show up from self with someone, then that's a conscious thing that I'm doing with an audience, right? Like I'm doing it, and it's being monitored, and the other times of my day I don't have that accountability, so I'm all for it. I
imagine like a couple minutes is also nice for you in that scenario. Cool. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. Okay. Just feel like a good place to stop. Is there anything else? Any parts that have anything they want to share?
I don't think so. Thank you, as always, for your help.
Okay. Thank you. I'll be in touch. I'll send out some more booking links soon.
Sounds great.
Okay. Have a good night. Okay, bye. Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube, and they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.